Hello everyone, welcome back to some more of The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last time, not too much happened. Well, first off, I should probably say, it's been a while for me. Like, I recorded the last episode, like, the week before Christmas, and, yeah, it is now the 12th in 2024, so, suffice to say, it's been a while, so apologies if I get some things wrong, like voices or events and whatnot. It's been a while for me. From watching the last video, I guess that we talked to, Dr. Gory and Mikotoba about the autopsy of Clint Van Zeeks, I think, and we saw something interesting, that one of the pieces of evidence, namely this ring that he had, was stuck in his stomach, yet, where is it? Here. On the autopsy report, there's no real wounds regarding... Yes, there's no real wounds regarding, inside the body. Because, as you can see, the ring is rather sharp. It will cut everything up. As such, we're trying to figure if the ring was fake, if the ring itself was, like, fake evidence. So, yeah, there's that. What else is there? Let's see. Strongheart's about to close the case, but then Cosma objects. Sorry, I'm looking at, I watched the video, but I'm also reading a bit of a hint guide I have here. Cosma objects because he wants to find out why Genshin was silent about the crime. Right, because I think it was that he confessed, I think, or something, like he like confessed, but he had to be silent about the crime. I don't remember. Let's see. Strongheart objects. We could just. Was it? Whatever. Anyways, Strongheart objects, but then Mikotoba says he already has Kaiden and Vigil outside. And they give testimony about the whole plot that was like that basically happened, where he got out of jail and was supposed to come out of the grave. All right. Again, it's been a while for me, so apologies if I get any details wrong or if I get any voices wrong. This is just a broad approximation for my memory, so it is what it is. I was planning on finishing this like at the end of 2023, but well, things don't always work out the way you intend. Anyways, I guess let's just get into it. Alright, let's see here. I'm gonna have to reread through some of this stuff. Wait a second. Okay, sorry about that. Let's see, it was the day that the Japanese jock was found guilty. The director came from prosecutor's office. He assigned the convict to... Oh. Sorry. Did that by accident. He assigned the convict to the chief ward of Vigil here, and put the plan into action behind the scenes. Okay. See. So, Mr. Vigil, you didn't know anything about it at all? That's right. My only role in the scheme was as a scapegoat. That's right, isn't it, Governor? Some poor beggar had to take the rap for it. Alright then, who else didn't know about the plan? I've not the first idea, laddie. My part in the whole business was basically dealing with the aftermath. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were other folk in the prison service who would be given similar orders. So, you don't know who else was involved? Aye, that's right. All I can tell you is that the night it actually happened, the person at the reins was Dr. Stevens. Dr. Courtney Stevens, or Scythe as she's known now. Why did I have to get caught up in such a terrible business? Alright. I was responsible for Asogi up until the night of his execution, but I knew nothing of any plot. I didn't know if there was some negotiation between the convict and the prosecutor's office. All I did was carry out my duty for Her Majesty's Great British Empire. Okay.
Hold it!
What do you mean by negotiation, just say? But you've already acknowledged that the orders came from the prosecutor's office to arrange for the man's escape. There must have been some sort of negotiation. It's the only explanation. Aye. Well, Peter has it may. I didn't care nothing about that. The witness stand is no place for telling you what you don't know for sure. I ken that much, I do.
Then I presume you also know this. Not telling what you do know is a criminal offense. So, you were just following orders, is that it? I'm afraid that won't absolve you of guilt here.
A man was still killed illegally, even if he was a condemned criminal. You may very well be found complicit in murder, Governor.
So, that's what it's to be, is it? Even with the threat of conviction, you won't break your silence.
Okay.
Hold it!
Oh, what is this then? Did you carry out the plan in its entirety? Aye, I did everything I could at the time.
As you know, Genshin Asogi was shot dead in Lowgate Cemetery after he escaped. Tell me, was that part of the plan too?
My instructions were to do with getting the Joko to the jail and nothing more. I cannot tell you anything about what happened after that. Only, personally, I believe his death was the last part of the plan. What was that?
Excuse me!
Mr. Vigil, is something wrong?
Yeah, is something wrong?
Yes, sir? What can I do for you, sir? He's saluting now? What is it, some sort of Barclay convention? What Governor Kaiden was just saying seemed to upset you. Did it bring something to mind, perhaps? For the last 10 years, I've completely blotted out the memories of that time from my mind. I was betrayed by my superiors in the name of my country.
Just as my father was betrayed, it seems.
But, you see, thinking back now, I really can't imagine that the shooting of Mr. Asogi in the cemetery was ever part of the plan. What makes you think that? Because he was going to die anyway. Yeah, he already had the death penalty. If you were going to kill him after he escaped, then if you're going to kill him anyways, if you were going to kill him anyways, just carry out the execution as planned. You don't need to fake his whole death and then let him leave and then just to kill him. Just kill him outright then. To make the man admit to his crimes he did commit with the promise of a jailbreak, only to kill him in the end. That's treachery of the worst kind. But the point is, if the intention was always to betray him, why would there be any need for all the chicaneries of an escape? Just kill him outright. He was already sentenced to death, so just kill him outright. That's it. Yes, that's quite true.
If whoever negotiated with the Asogi never intended to keep her end of the bargain, it would have been far simpler just to let the man be executed in prison as dictated by a sentence.
It all happened in that vast chamber of secrets that is Barclay, behind the prison walls. I suppose nobody knows what really went on in the execution room now. Yes, it's an unsettling mystery, certainly.
Truth be told, there is a wee matter that's never quite made sense to me. If you believe there was some kind of negotiation behind the jailbreak between Asogi and the body at the top, it doesn't quite add up, does it? Governor Kaiden, I must insist that you explain these doubts you have. By amending your formal testimony. Gads. Go on then. The Japanese fella didn't have nothing to bargain with. Ooh, yes he did. I'm pretty sure he did. Where was it? Yeah. Yeah. I remember he was like the only weapon I had left. I hereby request that upon my death, any all material possessions, blah blah blah. It is with deep sadness I first accept this fate. It's in the knowledge I will never see my homeland or family again, but I will regret nothing. Oh. Alright then. The only weapon I have left.
Objection!
Yeah. Confessing under oath to murders he didn't commit on a verbal assurance of later being broken out of prison. Genshin Asogi was taking on an incredibly risky gamble.
Very true. There was nothing to stop the British breaking their word and executing him behind closed doors anyway. Under normal circumstances, no man wouldn't stake his life on a gentleman's agreement like that.
Which means that Mr. Asogi must have had a trump card. Something that guaranteed he wouldn't be betrayed. Some kind of weapon. Avers, the fella couldn't have possibly have anything like that. But you know that he did, Governor. The Asogi Papers. The name given to the last will and testament of Genshin Asogi. Ah! As it turns out, Mr. Asogi was hiding his will in his cell at Barclay. Chief Warder Vigil caught him with it one day. You squealed, did ya? You weird rat. Didn't I tell you to keep that a secret? You can't touch me now. Ah! When Mr. Vigil caught sight of that will through the bars of the convict cell, Mr. Asogi pleaded with the warder. Alright then, but what's on that paper?
A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. A weapon?
And after the convict had been killed following the elaborate pretense of the jailbreak, that document mysteriously disappeared, didn't it? Well, yes. All the prison warders were searched through the belongings in the cell, but that will was just nowhere to be found. As I understand it, an exhaustive search was made for the document, which became known as the Asogi Papers. Governor Kaiden, I believe you ordered your prison staff to find it all at all costs, didn't you? Eh? Would I be right in saying that you knew that the so-called Asogi Papers had the potential to make great waves somehow? James, what the blazes are you blithering about? The will was found, right and proper. And the fella said what I said it would be. But how can that be? Where in his cell? We all searched the place top to bottom. Well, you didn't do a proper job, eh, you peely-wily galoot? You can't criticize me now. I showed it to you before, did I know, yon lawyer? Yes, you did. I have the documents here. It's written in Japanese, and it reads, The Last Will and Testament of Genshin Asogi.
Which means everything as it should be.
Not quite, my lord. You see, there's an undeniable inconsistency here. Yeah, thinking about it now, like, this doesn't sound... Is this forged? Because you didn't find the paper, they searched the entire cell, now it just magically reappears? And he said it was his weapon. This don't sound like a weapon. This just says, hey, I bequeath everything to my son, and I'm sad that I can't see my family again. That's it. What? How is this a weapon? What is it? You're gonna get paper cuts when reading it? You're gonna? Is it a pain? Is it an emotional weapon? You're gonna start crying? What? No, it's not really a weapon. So I think it's. Mr. Asogi described this document as the only weapon he has left. And yet, this will contains nothing of significance at all. Yeah, exactly, just what I said. Nothing that would have given the convict any leverage.
Are you suggesting, my learned friend, that the last will and testament stored at Barclay Prison all these years is actually a fake?
As has clearly been demonstrated already, what went on at Barclay Prison was far from above board.
That at last vilification by the defense was an affront to the entire British legal system. This absurd notion of a weapon is something for which we will have only the former Chief Warder's word. The man could quite easily be lying, or at the very least sorely mistaken.
What? No, I definitely heard him say that. I swear.
Clearly, we need to get to the bottom of this. We need to know exactly what happened with these so-called Asogi papers.
A waste of time. If the will was fake, where is the real document?
Objection!
Mr. Vigil was stabbed in the back by the judiciary 10 years ago. He lost everything, very nearly his own life. And now you're going to do it again. You're ready to brand him a liar and turn your back on him without even letting him defend himself. It's clear that Barclay Prison's hiding something.
It's clear the jailbreak was masterminded by someone in the prosecutor's office.
It's clear that some illicit negotiations took place. Is your lordship going to gloss? Okay.
What did you say?
Why should I more from the chief warder?
Have him testify again.
The trial must go on. The man's voice must be heard.
It would seem that a vocal few here are utterly blind to the truth. Very well then, let the witness testify again. Tell the court precisely what you think you saw of the convict's last will and testament.
Yes, sir, my lord. Alright. Let's see what we got here. Was I too quiet there? I don't know. There's like more people where I am now, so I don't want to wake them up with like loud voices and whatnot. Plus, like I said, it's been like a few weeks since I recorded, so I'm a bit rusty. Apologies if I'm not sounding like the same as before. As the warder responsible for the condemned convicts, I attended to Mr. Asogi and kept watch over his cell. The night after he was found guilty in court, he was doing something with that will in his cell. We turned the cell and set out looking for it after the execution, but to no avail.
I only found out about the Asogi paper when a directive came telling me to impound them. The document was in the folds of the fellow's robe that was left in his cell. Kimono, I think it's called.
In his kimono? That's a lie. We searched every inch of the man's cell. We looked through all his clothes. It can't be true.
Were you not satisfied with calling me a liar the once, eh?
You wee waffinger.
There's nothing you can do about it now. You don't have any hold over me anymore. Other than the hold you'd like to take on my cravat, of course. Is that what you're going to do? Is it? Are you going to give me a good shake again? Or are you too scared? Little and large. What a double act.
We compiled the Asogi's will as far as was possible.
Or complied with, sorry.
All of his personal effects were delivered to his family home in Japan. As a courtesy to the homeland of the most notorious killer our country has ever seen.
And we were much obliged. I can confirm that all my father's belongings arrived safely.
Aye, and you cannot deny that handwriting is that of your old man, eh?
Yes, there's no mistaking that it's my father's brushwork.
Really? And the last will and testament was the man's last weapon, was it? I think we can safely assume that the convict was merely prattling, knowing that his end was nigh. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please.
Yes, my lord.
Alright, where do we start from here exactly? Like, legitimately, where do we start?
Okay, let's start from the end, actually, because I remember Vigil saying that, like, it wasn't in his kimono, but then Stronger interrupted, right? So, let's see what we got here. No, then, yeah. In Mr. Sogi's kimono? Aye, the one he brought with him before he was locked up. Yes, he was permitted to have his personal effects with him during his incarceration, I understand. That's right. He was granted as much freedom as possible during the few days before the execution. Indeed, he had a number of items of personal significance, I remember. He was very reluctant to part with them. Some books, a kimono, his sword. His sword? Karuma, the famous sword of the Asogi clan. It bears the soul of my family. I don't doubt it, but I wasn't really getting at that. Forget the being the soul of the clan. Could the man have a more obvious weapon? Have some respect, Ryunosuke. Respectful silence? The warders carry firearms at all times, and the inmates have shackles around their ankles. You couldn't have hurt anybody with that thing. Still, he was allowed a sword but no writing materials? Yeah? Aye. He wrote that well before he came to stay with us at Barclay, you see. Oh, before.
Dr. Mikotoba was asked to bring the necessary Japanese writing implements to the prosecutor office.
A Suzuri ink stone, black sumi ink, and some Hanshi rice paper, no doubt. I was present when he wrote it, and I'm sorry to say, the letter just looked like a squirm of massive jet black earthworms to me.
Excuse me!
What do you gotta say, Vigil? Are you feeling faint, Mr. Vigil? Mr. Vigil. Sir! It was Scarlet, sir.
Scarlet?
Excuse me? What? Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to blurt it out like that. Less saying and more explaining would be helpful. Alright, sorry about that. I just had to handle something. Less swaying and more explaining would be helpful. 2319, okay. Is it something about the testimony we just heard? Have you recalled something of importance? Something of importance? Possibly, or possibly not. I'm unable to tell which way he's leaning, I'm afraid. My lord, the defense asks that Mr. Vigil be permitted to supplement his testimony with this possibly or not impossibly not important detail.
Permission granted.
Go ahead, Mr. Vigil. Yes, it was Scarlet. As I remember it, but the document was written in scarlet ink. But perhaps I'm mistaken. We know of something that's scarlet ink. Yeah, I'll have to report. Yeah, we just read it. Yeah, here. Scarlet ink stains visible on the little and ring fingers of the right hand. Little and ring fingers. Oh wait, that's pinky and ring. That's like. Oh, actually, wow, that actually. Sorry, I just realized something. Whenever like you draw something or like you write something using ink, if you're not wearing like a glove or whatever, the ink gets smudged all over your hand because that's just what happens when you're writing. It gets smudged all over your fingers. But then that would mean What?
Objection!
Scarlet-colored writing is what you said you thought you saw, Mr. Vigil. And I believe that's exactly what you did see. What? Evidence again. You have no evidence to say that. Have a look at this report.
That's my brother's autopsy report.
Yes, and there's something in here that's bothered me since I first read it. It states that scarlet-colored ink stains were noted on the victim's fingers of the victim's right hand.
Yes, so it does.
Scarlet ink. Now, I'm not familiar with the habits of the British aristocracy, I freely admit, but I would hazard a guess and say they don't all go around with ink stains on their fingertips, do they?
Your wit is not appreciated. My brother was a well-bred and fastidious man. Should ink have sullied his fingertips, he would have cleaned them immediately.
What is your point, counsel?
My point is this. Whatever Lord Clint Van Zeek was writing in that unusually colored ink must have been directly before his death, because he died before he had the opportunity to clean his hand.
What? I remember something troubled me at that time. At the scene, the lid of my brother's inkwell was open. But Clint was very punctilious. Punctilious about such things. It seemed unusual. And no document penned in the color of the ink that was in the inkwell was ever found.
So the document had disappeared. Are you suggesting that the document my father had in his hand that night in his cell was the same document that Lord Clint Van Zeek was writing moments before his death?
Then, it was.
If Mr. Vigil's testimony is to be believed, it can only mean that, yes, Mr. Vigil. Sir, when you spotted Mr. Sogi with the document in his cell, his precise words were as follows, were they not? Alright then, but what's on that paper? A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now, huh?
A last will and testament.
If the conversation really did go as Mr. Vigil says, well then what we now know completely changes the meaning of what Mr. Asogi said.
You really think?
Mr. Vigil did indeed see the convict with a will, but it wasn't that of Genshin Asogi. It was the last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zeek's.
No.
What?
Objection!
This is madness. My brother's last will and testament? That would mean that he had chosen to die.
That is what it would mean. Yes.
No. Impossible. That is utterly out of the question.
Lord Van Zeek's.
Clint was pursuing the professor. It consumed him day and night. Whatever happened, he would never have abandoned his investigation before its conclusion. Never. He wouldn't rest until the job was done, until the killer was caught. The idea that he would willingly accept his own death is obscene.
Objection!
And yet, we can be sure that he was writing his will moments before his death.
And that Genshin Asogi came to be in possession of that document. So, what could the will possibly have contained? Clearly, something that couldn't be made public under any circumstances whatsoever. Because armed with that document, my father was able to negotiate direct with the judiciary for his life. It was something so damning that it prompted the powers that be to enact that daring jailbreak plot. Yes,
There can be no question of the will contained information of the utmost secrecy.
Information of the utmost secrecy?
Ah!
Oh,
It couldn't be.
I've heard more than enough. Pursuing this notion of a phantom will nobody can attest to having seen serves absolutely no purpose.
Objection!
No, my lord. That is unacceptable.
What did you say, counsel?
The last will and testament that Genshin Asogi had in his possession was that of Lord Clint Van Zeeks. All the testimony and evidence presented to the court has logically led us to that as a possibility. We have a duty to pursue the line of reasoning to its conclusion.
But no possible means of knowing the contents of the document. There is no line of reasoning to pursue.
a reason why Lord Clint Van Zeeks, a man of high noble standing, would have chosen death. Information so secret, people in the judiciary would be willing to negotiate the jailbreak of a condemned killer. The only explanation that fits those facts is an unthinkable truth that turns absolutely everything on its head. But it's just too hideous. Mr. Naruhodo, however difficult the situation might become, you work with your client in pursuit of the truth. That's what you resolved to do when you entered the courtroom this morning, if I'm not mistaken. Miss Susato. So, hold your head high and keep soldiering on. Yes, you're right. "10 years ago, in his final moments, Lord Clint Van Zeeks left behind a will. A will that Genshin Asogi was able to use as a weapon to negotiate his escape from prison. In all probability, the details in the will were related to the Professor case.
The defense's last statement is mere conjecture.
What are you getting at, man? Ryunosuke?
As soon as these words come out of my mouth, there's no going back. I believe that the last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zeeks was in fact, well, what else fits? A report? Well, then that would be visible, wouldn't it? We've already seen it. An accusation would mean nothing because they already found him of the crime. We would have seen that too. But a confession, if he was confessing to something big, well, maybe Genshin would be able to sway some opinions with that. You can do this, Mr. Naruhodo. I believe that what Lord Clint Van Zeeks actually penned that day was a confession.
A confession?
Regarding the mass murderer known as the Professor, and his true identity.
Objection!
Enough, counsel. What are you saying? Do you even realize? A confession about the true identity of the Professor. That would mean...
Lord Van Zeeks, I appreciate this must be hard to take in. But it's the only explanation that fits. The killer that terrorized London a decade ago and became known as the Professor. The man believed to have murdered 5 members of the aristocracy. Wasn't Genshin Asogi at all. No,
You can't be suggesting...
it was in fact the man believed to have been the 5th victim.
Lord Clint Van Zeeks himself. Ooh, yeah. Even everyone else is scared.
Well, it's finally open, is it? Pandora's box.
The greatest Van Zeeks, the great Van Zeeks family. They have been thoroughbreds from the judiciary.
And Lord Clint Van Zeeks, he was a paragon of justice.
But he was actually a mass murderer? A perpetrator of atrocities of the vilest nature?
If the general public ever found out, Lord Norder would be... whatever.
My brother?
Oh, this is too awful. Poor Lord Van Zeeks.
I wonder, though, did he never suspect? Mr. Naruhodo? Lord Beric Van Zeeks is a brilliant prosecutor. Is it conceivable that he didn't realize what his older brother really was?
Order in the court.
Lord Van Zeeks. The professor made use of an enormous hound as his murder weapon. Tell me, did your brother own a dog?
Yes, he did. Balmung. He was a well-known hunting dog. People called him a giant.
Balmung? That is a very familiar name to me. Or is it Balmung? Yeah. Yeah, I knew it. Well, but yeah, this is... Yeah, I guess... Sorry, just Balmung is... Let's see. A Norse weapon used to kill Fafnir, the drag. Okay. It's like some Norse mythology. I knew that name sounds familiar. Alright then. Innocent Random Fantasy? What? Who even uses this? Huh. Alright. Sorry, the name was familiar to me.
I don't believe this.
When my brother would go hunting in the forest of the grounds behind the house, he always took Balmung. After Clint's death, the creature passed away too, almost as if he were following his master. He was a magnificent hunting dog, worthy of the jewel-studded collar around his neck.
Jewel-studded? Like the one we found? A jewel-studded collar?
That's right. Though, sadly, some years ago now, it was stolen by a thief who broke into the house one night.
A jewel-studded collar stolen by a thief. It so happens that myself and my colleagues have come across such a collar during our time in London.
How could you?
There was an old emblem attached to the collar, too, made of pure gold. It was topped with a small crown and bore an ornate capital letter B for Balmung.
What? An emblem bearing the initial B?
Oh my, you know it?
It's the insignia of the Baskerville family.
What? The Baskerville? Why is that name coming up now?
Baskerville is the family name of my late brother's widow. That pure gold emblem was an heirloom, which Clint acquired upon their marriage. There can be no doubt, then, the collar you described, it was Balmung's.
The family's insignia of Lord Clint Van Zeeks' will. There was a considerable amount of blood on the collar when we saw it. Since we know the dog was used for hunting, it could have been from its quarry, of course.
But what exactly was the quarry?
But it could equally have been human prey.
So it is true then. Clint Van Zieks really was the professor. Impossible.
That's alright, your own. Huh. So, in fact, the person responsible for these murders of nobles and royals was a noble himself. And that threatened to be an enormous scandal that would irrevocably destabilize British society.
My father knew that, and was using it to negotiate his way out of unjust charges brought against him. But, at the last hour, those he'd bargained with betrayed him, slaying him mercilessly on foreign soil.
Well, can you deny it, Lord Strongheart?
10 years have passed, and still now the 6 million inhabitants of our great capital rest easy believing that justice was done. That, though his anonymity remains, the diabolical murderer was caught and executed. Very well. You may have the truth.
Tell me then. Tell me what Clint really was.
Lord Clint Van Zieks was too pure of heart. When he became a prosecutor and went in pursuit of the black roots of crime, he drove himself into a corner. He came to the uncomfortable realization that to fight the most fiendish of criminals requires one to become even more fiendish oneself.
Clint. Jeez.
The 19th century was a truly miraculous 100 years for Great Britain, and indeed for the whole world. New industry, new technology, and with the birth of the Metropolitan Police Service, new law and order. But these dazzling new developments only meant that ever deeper shadows were cast into society. Water soiled by factories, air thick with noxious fumes and crime, growing daily to fill the darkness. Lord Clint Van Zieks made it his mission to combat that darkness. But as time went on, it slowly ate at his soul, until eventually he was consumed. It's ironic, really, and somewhat surprising, that the truth has once again been unearthed by a Japanese.
Once again? What do you mean?
10 years ago, your father, Genshin Asogi, turned up at my office one night. The professor.
Yes, beyond all shadow of doubt. You must issue a warrant to search his home at once.
Don't be absurd. The man comes from one of our country's most illustrious families. He's a paragon of justice in the capital.
Yes, that's the point. That's why none of you British can see it. He's using his noble status as a diversion once he commits these atrocious crimes behind the scenes.
Do you have evidence?
There is nothing definitive as yet. But he keeps an enormous savage hound on the estate. We need the full support of the judiciary for this. We're up against a member of the aristocracy.
So, a large family estate has a fierce guard dog. You should know that's commonplace here in Britain. I'm sorry, but I can't possibly put Scotland Yard onto this based on the tenuous accusation of a visiting student. So I turned down Asogi's plea. And as a result, he took it upon himself to visit the Van Zieks mansion on his own. We can only imagine now what happened between the two men. Though we know the outcome, of course. Lord Clint Van Zeeks perished.
I don't believe this.
So, in actual fact, Cosmo-sama's father did.
He made the late Lord Van Zeeks meet the same fate. He put a permanent end to the professor killings by taking the drastic measure of ending the perpetrator's life.
As soon as I heard, I hurried to the mansion. When I arrived, it was easy to grasp what had happened.
And what about the will?
Asogi must have already taken it. Nothing of that nature was found at the scene. We had no idea of the existence of such a document at the time.
Yet you all still covered it up? Yeah? Really?
I was the only person who knew of the true identity of the professor. So, I resolved to keep it a secret, and to guard the secret to the bitter end.
So you're admitting to it? That you were behind it all? It was you then who pinned the crimes on my father?
I did what would need to be done in order to protect the law and order of the British Empire. Even if that meant employing an unforgivable ruse.
And it was you who arranged this fabricated evidence.
I ordered the detective to take care of it, whilst keeping the truth from him, naturally.
Gregson?
Obviously, he opposed me at first.
Are you Phil Rocker? We can't do something like that.
There's no question that it was Asogi who murdered Lord Van Zeeks. The house staff have made statements that they saw the man running from the mansion that night.
Yes, well, I've no doubt it was that Japanese fella. But we haven't got a shred of conclusive evidence against the man. And worse than that, he doesn't keep a dog, so we're short of a murder weapon to boot.
And we're short on time, Gregson. We must put a stop to the man's rampage, for the good of the country. So, we'll use whatever means necessary. Do I make myself clear, Detective?
By me. So, that night, 10 years ago, when I was attacked by those dogs in the back streets, and Genshin's ring was taken, that was him, was it? That was Gregson and some hired help.
Then the detective handed the stolen ring to Dr. Wilson, who feigned its discovery from the victim's stomach during that autopsy. And in the light of that decisive evidence, Mr. Asogi was found guilty of the charges brought against him. However, behind the scenes, he had actually already struck a deal with his accusers, in which he agreed to silently accept the charges. But I just don't believe that part. As far as I know, Moonman, my father despised such underhand dealings.
It was extremely easy to make him comply. You see, he had one crippling weakness.
What weakness?
Is it obvious? You, Kazuma Asogi.
Me?
Perhaps you have no desire to return to your homeland, Asogi?
What?
Though I hear you have a 14-year-old son. Agree to cooperate and accept your guilt without contention, and you will see Japan and your son again.
You scoundrel!
Whether you choose wisely or not, it will be a closed trial by order of Her Majesty. So, whatever rash claims you might make in court, we'll have no trouble in stifling them. There's only one outcome for you, Asogi: the gallows.
Don't forget, I still have a weapon at my disposal.
A document revealing a truth that I know you're desperate to keep hidden.
Yes, it hadn't escaped my mind, which is the only reason I'm willing to bargain with you. I only want you to protect this country's law and order, you understand? So, what's it to be, Asogi?
Kazuma. He did it for me?
And as I told him at the time, my motive was simply to protect Britain from the damage the truth would do. To protect the country's law and order, at any cost.
Objection!
I've never dared to even let myself even consider this possibility until now. But, in light of all this treachery, I have to ask. The mastermind behind the Reaper of the Bailey. Was it you, Lord Mael Strongheart?
A rather brilliant idea, wouldn't you say, Lord Barack Van Zeeks? That the spirit of your late brother, the paragon of justice, shall return to reap justice for his sibling. Could there be a more appetizing tale for London's masses, I ask you?
What brazen?
I knew that you'd play the part to perfection, but your role wasn't really that of some embodiment of death. No, you were London's guardian angel.
An angel with bloody hands? I think not.
Those who had cooperated with me were only too happy to participate in my plan. Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson. My minions worked tirelessly to ensure that the finger of guilt could never come to rest on you. It's all thanks to them that you were exalted as the demigod the Reaper became.
But Dr. Wilson left Britain 4 years ago when he was invited to work in Japan.
That's right. So I had to implore the services of his young protege after that. Dr. Courtney Scythe.
Dr. Scythe.
So, what with the execution of the Professor and the subsequent reign of the Reaper of the Bailey, I've successfully safeguarded law and order in Our Majesty's capital for the past decade. That is everything.
And, I think I'm gonna end things here. We're like 50-something minutes in, and, yeah, I'm feeling kind of tired. Sorry. Yeah, the last time I recorded this was like 12:23. It is now like 1:12, so almost a month later. Anyways, so that's it. All right, we had a lot discovered today. We had, sorry, okay. So we had a lot discovered today. We had, we got testimony essentially leading up to the whole thing that Clint was the professor, and yeah, we just got Lord Strongheart to tell us everything. There's a lot more after this, I think. Yeah, sorry. There's like a heck of a lot more after this. So we still have a few more twists and turns, but I suspect that the final episode would probably be either next episode, or no, more than likely the episode after the next, or maybe the episode after that. So within the next 3 episodes is the finale. So yeah, pretty good, I'd say. So yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you.